People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in. I hope you're all doing well and safe on this Monday morning. Now, obviously, a blind man could see this was Pep Guardiola's biggest fight for his life. And me personally, more so in my podcast, but definitely when I do neutral content on YouTube, I've been very vocal in that I share that belief. For me, listen, Pep Guardiola is a footballing, not that I like to use these terms in general life because it's a bit funny. I don't believe in idolizing man, but in football terms, he's a footballing colossus. He's a footballing god. He is an icon. He is a hallmark of football. I can't speak for many people, but he's up there with he's achieved more than Wenger in the game, depending on if you look at trophies or whatever impacting people. But you got Jose, you got Ferguson, you got Pep, you got Wenger. You've got Cruyff, you got Michels, you got many different managers. For me, people might laugh, but I throw Roy Hodgson into that bracket, not because he's necessarily on their level. It's just, one, I like Roy Hodgson, and two, when I look at Hodgson, he's a strong man of principles. I'm not saying, in terms of accolades and the rest of it, he's up there. And if you understand football, you understand what I'm getting at. You're not just looking at the teams a man's managed and all of these things. Bielsa's in the bracket of elite managers for me that have given something to the game. If you don't necessarily believe that, I'm talking about Pep. Poch is a great manager as well, who I haven't spoken about. Who has had an influence on their game? Bielsa. Do you get it? So you have to judge managers sometimes on how they impact, the amount of players that go on to be managers, the amount of imprints they leave. So for me, Pep is up there. Ferguson had no questions for him. Ferguson, the greatest British manager in my opinion, and probably the best manager of all time. Between him and Pep, and Wenger obviously, he had no answers for him. Ferguson had no answers for him. The amount of players he's improved, the amount of people that wanted to play football like Pep Guardiola's team, what he's given to the game is ridiculous. He's a god in football in terms. But that being said, the same energy to praise, man, I believe in using it in a fair way to critique, man. If I'm calling you all of these things, then there's certain things I don't want to see, or there's certain, I'm judging you by your own high standards. And I said it before this season, Pep Guardiola's got the biggest fight of his life. Not that necessarily loses any reputation or anything. I know there's people that say he's a checkbook manager and the rest of it, and he can't do it without Messi and this and that. And when you look at how they're playing in the Champions League, when you look at how they've been blown out for 20 points, I don't agree with it. I just feel Pep can't shut them up, innit? It's like I said, it's Pep's biggest fight. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Now, I'm not too sure on his contract length at City or if he signed a new deal, but this is the longest term he spent at a single club. Last season, they got blown out by 20 points. For me, he is the reason they're out of the Champions League. He overcomplicated things. Of course, the players are playing. And you saw the frailties against Leicester. Now, you don't want to draw too many conclusions because, the game before the Leicester game, City did their thing and Pep said, there's 100 and something odd points on the line. And again, Klopp's boys were probably watching that game in relation to today, because that's going to be their competitors. But, Klopp and Liverpool are no idiots. They know in the second or third game week, whatever for City, they can't write them out of the league champions, of the league champions race. That will be more detrimental to Liverpool, And Pep Guardiola knows they're not out of it. The players should know they're out of it. But that being said, it's his hardest fight. His reputation has taken a hit. I don't believe in the checkbook manager thing and he can't do it without Messi and this, that and the other. That's me personally. But to the next man, because some of my man them in my close life that I'm always with, they believe that. I ain't got nothing to defend you with Pep. When they're saying that, I have to shut up and be like, cool, what can I say? I can tell you Pep did rah, but, it is what it is. They got smoked. Pep Guardiola's a quality manager. He spent how much money on that defence? Over 400 million people. Yeah, I don't like to talk about finances, but for me, I class you as one of the, if not the greatest managers to ever have done this at club level. And I rate how, your philosophy and whatnot. So for me, you should be able to pattern a defence. Like Arteta, listen, over 38 games, we might not say this, but our defence isn't the best. Yeah, we've brought in Saliba and Gabriel, but that's not the best. We have been last couple of games, going back towards the end of last season, we've defended better than City. And that's not me, again, I'm not saying we're a better defence. That's just me questioning Pep. I don't understand how the money you spent, how great you are, you can't pattern off the defence. Yeah, there's been injuries, yeah, there's been this, but there's been no base level. Like, for me, Mendy, I think Mendy's a decent left-back. And when I say overrated, please don't take that as I think he's not a good player. He is. I just think he's dramatically overrated. I feel man rate him for no reason. I think going forward, very much the modern day fullback. Very much a likeable guy off the field. midfield. Defensively suspect. Now, I don't always believe in bashing managers. You know, Mendy, you've been in the game. You know, when he was at Monaco, this was one frailty in his game. It hasn't improved. It was seen as improving and becoming more all-rounded when he joined Pep. You know, Pep has to ask himself what he's doing on the coaching aspect, and injuries have played a part. Mendy hasn't improved. Walker's a good fullback in my opinion. He's just prone to a couple of moments of madness. I like Eric Garcia. Since he's been exposed to first team level at City, he's defended well, he's distributed the ball well. I don't know if it's the English game is for him, because you know he's not the biggest, you know, not necessarily in terms of height either, but stature. He seems to have a problem when, I don't know how to explain it, but you see when you see them runs into space, when you're at that raw aggression when they hit the channel, he seems to have an issue defending against that. I did feel his penalty was quite harsh. But that's penalty sums up the example. He has a problem with them sort of things there. So you've had 3 separate errors in that team, people. 3 separate penalties, forgive me. Well, yeah, 3 separate penalties. Telemann scored 1, you know, and Vardy scored 2. You know, City shouldn't be doing that. You got blown out the water 5-1. You know, City put them under mad pressure. And then Leicester said, you know what, fuck these guys, pardon my language, you know. I'm not rating them. Rodgers and Vardy and them and there, they said, you know what, I don't care that this is City, you know. Forget what their players have done. Let's turn up. And you saw that. Like, for me, you know, many people say it's not the most glamorous of hat-tricks from Jamie Vardy. Not that it matters, it's 3 goals and it's his second against City, ironically. 3rd for Leicester. That 3rd, I mean, the goal he scored in open play was a bad boy goal, you know. Is it Cassance? I can't say their right back's name. Telemann's played the main part. They bopped it and then he flicked it in. They bopped it. They were disrespectful. Pep has the biggest fight on his life. Now, we can't draw too many conclusions. When I see stuff like Graham Souness saying Liverpool are going to walk with the league, they might do like last year, but it's disrespectful to both clubs. It puts unnecessary pressure on both sets of clubs and whatnot to draw, and it's just not sensible to draw so many conclusions right now. The season's just got started. What happens if Liverpool lose against Arsenal today, which touch wood is the case, and City go and win the next game? We need to be careful from drawing conclusions, you know. Klopp's men will drop points. Pep's team will undoubtedly gain points they shouldn't have gained, and drop points they drop more points. So we can't draw too many conclusions, but this just, you know, what a lot of us feel like, this is Pep's biggest fight of his life, people. For his own reputation. Like I said, there's more important things than football, and sadly with the corona thing and him losing relatives and things, that's kind of reiterated football isn't the most important thing in life, you know. There's better things to be obsessed with. And Pep is a very big obsessive with football, so he's probably staying up all night thinking about that Leicester game. But it's the biggest fight of his life, you know. Their players look nervous. He spent over 400 million on that defence, and, you know, you're hearing Ruben Diaz, who I like a lot, but if you watch Portuguese League, he is a bit booky. You know, John Stones, I don't know if he's going to be there. Another one who City brought in did not improve significantly at all. Linked with West Ham and Everton, we'll see. You know, Fernandinho probably should be used as a centre-half now if they're going to continue like that. He's cool. Laporte's on the bench, clearly not fully fit. You've got Dyer, Eric Garcia, sorry. You know, they've got Zinchenko who's probably going to leave. You know, I don't think enough is made about... listen, a lot's made about Pep Guardiola's spending, but enough isn't made about if he is one of the best coaches ever, why is he not improving players enough and improving defensive players enough? You know, he's brought in Danilo, and who was that left back? Angelino, you know, for however much outlay. You know, if that's at Arsenal or any other team, more of a meal is being made of that money misspent, you know, because it is. You know, none of them went to become 30 parts of the team. You know, you look at the statistics. To be fair, Angelino wasn't that much. It's 11 million. Cancelo was 60 million, which was poor. Ake's calm at 41 million. Diaz has just come in for 62. Danilo's 26.5, which is calm. Laporte, money well spent at 57. I think Walker was calm. Mendy's not justifying that 52 million release clause, price paid. And neither is John Stones at 47.5. And I like the last 2 names. I got a lot of time for Mendy. I'd take him at Arsenal. It's just, you know, you got to keep it true. And for me, because I can't speak for no one, I got no agendas against Pep. I just like football, and I like to comment on all football as well as this club. And I just feel if I rate Pep, for me, you'll always hear me always drop Pep Guardiola examples, you know. I got Pep's book up there, people, on the shelf. But because I rate him so highly, man, I need to ask these questions. It's like with Messi, you know. If I'm calling Messi the best ever when he's doing dirt against Bilbao, when you're playing Bayern Munich and that, you got to do the same thing, you know. Man can't just be calling you the best ever for nonsense. And I think Pep's got to do the same. And, you know, Pep, it's one thing for Pep. The players have got to fix up as well. Like I said, this video focused on Pep. The players have got to fix fix up. The players have got to want it. The players have to go back to zero. They need to go back to way before they need to forget they even play for City. Carl Walker, go back to you being hungry to get into the Spurs side at Aston Villa. Mendy, remember when you was trying to bust through at Monaco? It's like a lot of them players, they have lost their hunger and they've forgotten who they are. They need to go back to that. Go back to zero. Forget the fact that you've been part of this City team that's done all these things and done all these, 100 points and won trophies and Pep Guardiola and earning all this money. Go back to humble beginnings. Strip it back to basics, because that's what it looked like City needed against Leicester. Sorry, people. And Pep himself said they did not want to play. They just wanted to counter-attack. We know that Vardy runs from far, far away, and Harvey Barnes, you have to control him. But the moment we started to get nervous, we thought we were not doing well. We're not going to create 10 chances. We know it's difficult. Even at 5-2, Leicester are in the 18-yard box. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to try to find solutions. Yes, of course it's tough. We have to accept it. It's still the second Premier League game. And that's true. And to be fair, I don't think that's necessarily true from Pep. I think initially, like you saw, Leicester was conceding possession and whatnot. But 9 times out of 10, like you've seen, not just Leicester, but teams that have got a more positive result against City or made City work for the 3 points, they haven't sat back and respected them unnecessarily. At some point after half-time or at half-time, Leicester said, F it, forget their City. At the end of the day, football is 22 players chasing the ball around. Let's go and try a thing. And they tried the thing. And obviously, I won't say fortune, because it wasn't fortunate for them to get penalties. It was mistakes from City. But fortunately, City's nerves crept in and you had 3 individual penalty mistakes. That's not a defence. That is an offence, Enough isn't being highlighted of that. And Pep Guardiola, like he said, it's the second game. They brought in another defender for 65 million, an initial 62 in Ruben Diaz. So we'll have to see. Otamendi apparently is on his way to Benfica in a separate deal for 13.6 million, people. And even him, attack is the best form of defence. So if City, like I said, ran riot and killed that game, it could have been different. But at the same time, they've got to improve. They really got to improve. It's not even necessarily just that back line. It's City, you used to see right wingers tracking back and whatnot. And when one man goes for a tackle, the next man's ready to fly in. A lot of that weren't seen for me anyways against Leicester. So we'll have to see what it really is and what it's saying, people. But on that note, I've got nothing more to add, so I might as well keep it moving. It's always a pleasure. DG.